We believe tonight is a very, very, very important night. So we're absolutely thrilled and welcome each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here with us this evening. When you look at the two topics tonight, looking at digital citizenship, looking at how to stay safe when using technology, as well as drug awareness, our kids nowadays are really living in a very, very different world. Times are changing each and every single day with technology. Things are put in front of them. They're dealing with various different types of social media, as well as that we know that at times throughout their life they're going to be in an environment where they're exposed to or actually see various drugs that can cause great harm to them. We feel that it takes all of us to make sure that we are keeping our children safe, and our purpose tonight is to give you information in both of these areas of how, as parents, and obviously very active parents, because you're here this evening to keep your kids safe, to keep our children safe when we're on computers, when we're out there in cyberspace. But also, we have a twist tonight to share with you how all of the use of technology is and should be a very, very positive venue for our children as well, too. And then also to help you to understand what's out there in terms of drugs within and around our communities. We have a full-packed house of some really experts as well, too. This evening you'll actually hear from, and I'll very shortly turn it over to our high school principal, Mr. Kevin Mullen. He's actually going to do the presentation on digital citizenship with our technology instructional specialist, Mr. Ben Louie. We also have our assistant superintendent, Dr. Robert Bryson, and also many of our administrators with us, Mrs. Lynn Miller, Mrs. Donna Schick, Mrs. Jill Platts is our coordinator of social services. Back in the back, too, we have Officer Blaze, who's going to give an outstanding overview on drug awareness. We pride ourselves in having a great partnership with Southern Regional Police. Behind Officer Blaze is Chief Boddington, who works in partnership with us almost each and every day. We're very fortunate to be able to work with them. Mr. Randy Fox, Mrs. Donna Koval, and Mrs. Beth Coons are our elementary principals. And also sitting right behind Mr. Randy Fox is Dr. McCullough, our Chief Financial and Operations Officer. So we really feel, as I said, that this night is so very important. I am a parent that has raised two girls and still raising two girls, and my mom and dad tell me parenting never ends, and I certainly know that, and it's a blessing that we all have. I have a daughter that's 18 and a daughter that's 21, both of them through college. And each and every year I thought it was one of the hardest, most stressful years of my life. I would always say, give me a cafeteria full of 600 kids, 1,000 kids, I'm great, I'm good. But just to really be a really good parent in this day and age has been very hard. And really, you need to stay on top of things. You need to be open. You need to be open. I used to say to parents over time that you need to talk to your children. You need to make sure that you're talking to them. And now my mindset has really shifted and said, no, we need to talk with our children as parents. And that's what we're going to do tonight, to give you many different resources and topics in which you'll be able to have good conversation with your children about some very important concepts.
Good evening. As Dr. Lamont said, my name is Kevin Mullen. I'm the high school principal here at Susquehanna High School.
And my name is Ben Louie. I'm the technology specialist and digital academy coordinator for the district.
And our goal here this evening is to talk to you a little bit about how your students can positively leverage social media and technology to their advantage, and why it's important that they do so. And also for you as parents to have an idea of some questions that you need to start to ask yourselves and be comfortable with. How fast, how much technology do I want my child to have access to? We're also going to give you a brief overview from our end of what we do here in the school and why the school is a positive place for students to venture into the digital age with technology. And then we're really going to leave you with a set of questions. And those of you that I handed out to, you see the Think pad that came to you with the little an acronym of Think with some questions. We're going to really, our goal is to leave you with some questions and some ideas of places for you to go explore how to do technology. We're not experts. We can't give you all the answers, but what we can do is raise some good questions for you as parents. Both of us are parents, and we both wrestle with these particular questions. And basically, what do we feel comfortable with as adults of our children that we can prepare our own children as well as your children here in school. Real quick poll. How many of you here have strictly elementary, would be primary grade? How many of you have primary students? How many of you have secondary, which would be middle school and high school? All right, thank you. That kind of helps us gauge kind of our audience a little bit.
Okay, before we start getting into all the specifics, we're just going to take just a couple minutes here just to sort of survey the 21st century environments that we live in, because I think it's important to understand what's happened here in the last several years to help kind of frame the environment that we live in every day and that our kids are growing up in. So, technology advancements. I mean, if we think back to just what's happened in the last 10 years, the technology advancement that we've had just in this century alone actually has outpaced the technology advancements in the whole previous century. So from like 1900 to 2000, in terms of the impact that technology has, the first 10 or 14 years in this century has actually been incredibly greater growth. We think about how maybe the railroad affected the expansion of the country or the ability to get products moved around. We think about electricity, telegraph, and things like that. But all of those things haven't changed the environment we live in near as much as technology has in terms of personal computing, cell phones, communication, and just the ability to communicate and collaborate not only with people in our own community or in our own household, but really in the entire world. So communication is one of those areas. So how many of you can think of the last time, or remember the last time you used a payphone? Can anybody even remember the last time you used a payphone? If we needed to use a payphone to make an important call tonight, how many of us would even have enough change in our pocket or even know how much it would cost to place a call? I know I don't have any change. I think back maybe when I was in high school, I think there was a payphone. I might have used it every once in a while because I didn't have a cell phone. And that was only 15 or so years ago. We just live in a different world. Most of you in this room probably grew up using only a landline. It's probably one of those ones where you had to dial a number and wait for it to come all the way back around. So just one thing like that. But just the communication we have now, we don't have to run to a phone. We don't have to worry about who's on the phone. Most of us just pull out a phone and anywhere and any time we make a call, place a call we want. Unless you're driving around in the hills surrounding Glen Rock and you don't have service. Which happens to be on my way home. So communication is just expanded. Our students and children today have the ability to communicate at snap of the finger, which is totally different than we had before. And these advancements in technology have created a marketplace that's global. Okay, so before, everything was centralized around a particular city you lived in. People might have driven 10 miles to work. How many people drive more than 50 miles to work now? How many of you work from home and the office you work at isn't even something you drive to? We've got hands doing that. So our marketplace has changed. We've got people running multi-million-dollar businesses in a little tiny closet because most of their employees are somewhere else in the world. So we've created this global marketplace where we can go online and buy and sell things very easily. So not only can we communicate, we can interact and make purchases and things like that. So basically what this technology has done is given pretty much anyone with a handheld device the ability to have a worldwide impact. And so if we think about just a couple things in the last couple years, in the Mideast and Egypt, we had the Arab uprising that all happened basically because of Twitter. So we had some people who were able to get their hands on devices and they were able to pull themselves together and gather up support and make big changes to their governments. How many of you participated in the Ice Bucket Challenge for ALS? How many of you don't know what that is? So most everybody knows. So that's one little thing that somebody came up with this little idea and said, hey, let's dump some water on it, have a video of that, and put that out on the social network, and billions of dollars have come in from people dumping ice on their head. So that's the type of worldwide impact. I mean, an 8-year-old with an idea, an iPad, and the internet can cause worldwide impact. Videos go on YouTube and get millions of views in a couple of hours because of the power of social media. And so basically, if we sum all this up, we literally have the power to change the world literally at our fingertips. You know, you can take a device like this. You don't have to be able to read. Like a 4-year-old can operate an iPad or a phone with his fingers. And if I don't have things set up the right way, he can have a negative worldwide impact that I don't want him to have. You know, but you don't have to teach the kids how to do it. They just point and touch. So we have this amazing power at our fingertips. So I think what we have to think about is what do we do with that, okay? So knowledge is power, and it gives us opportunity, and it creates advancement. So I think it's important to realize that that's not going to go away. So it's nice to think that maybe we could operate in a vacuum, but the reality is we're going to have more touch devices. Now you don't even have to touch them. You can talk to your phone, and it'll record the text and send it. And you can ask Siri how to get home from wherever you are in the world, and she'll punch it all in and start telling you how to get home. So we have amazing power at our fingertips. What we have to remember is with that power, we have some responsibility. How many of you have seen the Spider-Man? Everybody see the Spider-Man movie? So Peter Parker has these great, we're going to show a little video clip from the movie, that's why I'm talking about it. Peter Parker has these great spider skills because he got bitten by the spider and he was able to do amazing things. And if you remember from the movie, at one point in time there's a bully and he kind of flips out and beats the kid up. Okay? And then after he beats him up, I guess he kind of gets back to his uncle and he's getting in the car with Uncle Ben, and Uncle Ben has some words for him. So check it out here. I think it sums up our opening statement here pretty well.
These are the years when a man changes into the man he's going to become the rest of his life. Just be careful when you change into them. But just because you can be doesn't give you the right to. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
And I think if you think about that, when we were kicking this around, is why we felt this was important, is think about the power, as Ben said earlier, what your children, our students have with a cell phone, right? And what they can do with a laptop and an iPad. And we have to understand that no other generation, there's a group of them sitting back there, you know, we're going to take them back in the room shortly here, and they can hit us. No other generation, no generation has ever had the power and knowledge at their fingertips like our children do. And as a parent, I recognize that. As a district, we recognize philosophically that we cannot ignore this power. And the best thing that we can do is partner with you as parents to model positive use of this power. Take it and use it for good, like the Ice Bucket Challenge, which would be raised $15 or $16 million in a very short period of time. That was one person getting that started. Philosophically, we believe that we absolutely positively have to model this. And we can do it here in our district within a very safe environment. We have content filters that are set up that are blocking sites that they should not be able to get into, blocking material that would be objectionable. We have rules in place for a student. If they were to get on something, say it does for whatever reason get through a filter system or there's a glitch, they can, in a very safe environment, raise their hand or walk out whatever the library and go to somebody and say, hey, look, this wasn't what I intended to go to. You know, we need to fix this. And they can come to us and not necessarily be judged that, oh, what you did was wrong. We teach them, okay, well, let's see what you did. If they did it purposely, yes, there's going to be consequences. But more importantly, if they come to us and say, this isn't what I wanted, then we're training them and teaching them to do the right thing, which is recognize. I mean, all of us have probably had this. How many of you have been on the internet and do a search and and pulled something up that was inappropriate, that you had no intention of going. We all have. I was the principal of a Catholic elementary school. My first week there was a transportation issue. So I type in transportation. Well, I get trans and a lot of other things and click on a site that I had no concept for. And that was after everything broke in the Catholic Church. How fast do you think I was picking up the phone and calling the diocese to say, this isn't what I really want to be on, this is what I'm looking for? I mean, it can happen to all of us, so we want the students to understand that. But more importantly, we want them to understand that it's a tool. When students are in our primary grades and our elementary schools, they're using technology as a tool, as a learning tool. Think back to when you were in school. If any of you had any difficulties with learning to read or picking up on certain phonetic sayings, how much more powerful is it for a student to actually say the phonetic wording in a recorder and then have it heard back? They can hear themselves. That is far more powerful for a student in the primary grade than it is for the teacher to go, no, that's not quite right, let's try this again. But for them to hear themselves and to be able to practice, and not just be able to practice in school, but to be able to use it and go home and practice, that's powerful. For a student to be able to go in and do some basic research at the primary grade, for students to be able to display their art, how powerful is it for a student to do a great art project, have a picture of it, and have their fellow students come up and go, hey, Kevin, that was a great picture. You know, I really liked where you put this. I like the colors you used. It's very powerful and very positive for a student when their colleagues or their fellow peers come to them and say, what a great job it is. Or, you know, even at the very beginning of using like a Google Doc or a Word doc where students can go back and forth and peer edit what they're doing is extremely powerful, and our elementary schools are doing that. Again, it's very safe. They're learning to use it positively as a tool. At the secondary level, we're taking it one step farther, and we're saying that the technology that you're using is not only just a tool, but it's a way for you to get involved and engage other people outside of your classroom. The day of coming into a classroom and just you and 25 students, or you and 30 students, and those are the only people you interact with, quickly coming to a close. Our students now can come in and use a Google Doc, and they can actually work with students in another class. We have students that are working, Mrs. McCullough, who is one of our finance teachers and business teachers, she's working with the art students, and they're using our Blackboard and our Google Docs, and they are actually doing a project together. They don't meet at the same time. They never interact face-to-face. They are doing it all via the Blackboard and the Google Docs and having that interaction. And so the artists are getting the business critique on what to do with their logo, and at the same time, the business students are actually getting a chance to interact with an artist who's actually making the logo. That's real life learning. That's what technology gives them the ability to do. That's what the businesses are doing. How many of you have had a conference meeting where some of the people in the conference weren't there, and you saw them on a computer screen and rather than even a telephone? Right? That's what we're trying to get our students to do at this level, to try to get them to buy into that. I was in a social studies class on Friday. It used to be, and I was a social studies teacher, you would have to show a primary document by pulling, doing a ditto or actually pulling it out. You're limited to what you can find in a textbook or in a library. Students were in a social studies classroom, and they were pulling primary documents from the beginning of U.S. history all the way until now and compiling them in a giant list and weighing whether or not it was pro-states' rights or pro-federalism. Very powerful. We couldn't do that. Those are things so we're bringing those to our students and getting them to see what it is. And again, it's all within our content filter system. It's all within our rules for acceptable use. It's all within rules of our handbook, and it's a safe environment where they can practice these skills and at the same time get the support they need for what they're doing. So it's important that the students do it. Not allowing our students to do that would be paramount to going back in time to what our predecessors did and said if you sail over the horizon, you're going to fall off the face of the earth. Or that the sun revolves around the earth and not the other way around. And all of those things have been proven wrong. But don't take our word for it. I want to show you a quick video. Sorry, we're going to do digital citizenship. I forgot.
Yeah, so I think everything that we were just, that Kevin was just talking about is that show the power of using these tools. But the important part is that we have to make sure that our students understand how to operate, how to interact, how to communicate and collaborate. So that's kind of what the rest of the way through tonight is going to be. And really, this is the formal definition of digital citizenship. But it's basically just helping students understand this is what's acceptable, this is what's not acceptable when they're interacting in that environment. And it's important that they realize that, because how many of you would want to go to your job and be told, well, you can't use your computer today? You got to either go get the typewriter, or you can't go online and make this call. You got to go down to the payphone. So what we want to do is make sure that kids understand that we need these tools. These tools are part of our life, but there are some responsibilities and there are some acceptable practices that we need. So kind of the next 10 minutes or so here, we're going to go through, and as you said, don't take our word for it. We have a couple of videos here from some experts. So our first one up here, this is Kevin Honeycutt. He was a former classroom teacher, but now he basically travels around the country talking with students and teachers and school leaders and parents and community members about helping students make that jump and be able to interact in that environment. So play this one.
Hello, I'm Kevin Honeycutt, and welcome to this episode of Raising Digital Kids. Today I want to go in deep and talk about the digital footprint and what that means. There are a lot of people that liken the way people from my generation use the web as visitors, right? And the way our kids use the web as residents. So we go in, we take things, like we're going to Dillon's. We take some stuff off the shelf, but we don't leave anything of ourselves there. Kids move in. They move all the way in, and they leave footprints and fingerprints everywhere they go. Now think about how the world changed. Did you make any mistakes when you were in puberty? You don't have to raise your hand. Okay, can I Google them? That's the difference. That's the difference, right? If I can Google them, and I ask kids this all over the country, I ask this question. It's probably 100,000 kids I asked this question last year, right? I say, do any of you have anything online right now you'd be embarrassed if your mom saw? And I always get this. I take it through 3 filters. Then I say your grandma, your pastor. Then I say, guys and girls, if it's online, it's never offline again. And whole auditoriums get hushed. What's become extremely clear to me is that they don't really understand. And I am not indicting them for not understanding. We don't understand. How many of you know someone our age that still forwards inappropriate emails from a professional email account? And see, so we still make mistakes, and our kids certainly are going to make mistakes sometimes. So what I want to talk about is helping kids watch their digital footprint, maybe even cultivate a digital footprint that gets them the scholarship, right? So how do we do that? Well, those conversations are going to start happening when they go to college. Their coach is going to pull them aside and say, hey kids, you represent our program now. You're going to watch what you say on Twitter. Here are our guidelines. I think kids should have their own guidelines before they ever get there, because they're already building an online resume and building an online footprint. One of the ways that I like to have kids do that is having them set up an account on Google Alerts and put an alert out on their name, their account names, their screen names, their emails, and see what's being said about them by themselves and by their friends, and just kind of watch their own back. This is not a perfect tool, but it's an interesting tool to keep kids thinking about, what is my online reputation? What is my digital footprint? Will it get me the scholarship, or will it lose me the scholarship? This is not all bad news. If your daughter applies for a job at my company when she's 25, and I Google and find out when she was 12, she was raising money for hurricane relief, as a 12-year-old, I want her to work for me. See, our kids can be building amazing digital footprints that help them in the future, not just hurt them. Sometimes our focus is one-sided. Hey, thanks for watching this episode. We'll see you next time on Raising Digital Kids.
You can actually check out his website. He's got a bunch of different videos that he does all the time. So this one actually is a couple years old. Just went away. We'll get it back for you before you leave. But so let's think a little about what he was saying. Obviously, yeah, when we were younger, we made mistakes. It didn't get out there as quick as it does now. And so we do need to make sure that kids understand that. But I think the more powerful part of what he was saying is, let's not talk about don't do the negatives. Let's talk about what can we do to build up the positives. And we made a couple phone calls. We called to Messiah College and talked to their chief admissions officer, just asking, hey, do you use social media when you're looking at students? When you're looking whether to admit them or give out scholarships? He says, yeah, we look at it, and we asked him, well, are you looking for it, to find who not to bring in? He said, no. He said, we're actually looking at it because we want to find who we absolutely don't want to not bring. We want to find out who we really want here, and we can't always see that on paper. And we can't always get that by just interviewing them. But as he said, we can look back over the last 10 years of their life and see some of the things that they've done. That helps us to separate not the top, figure out who the number one candidate is out of the top 5. And we called one of the HR directors at Wellspan and said kind of the same thing. It's easy to find who not to hire. That's not really the key thing. What we're really looking for is who are the best people. And they actually use this as a way to you can go in and say some good things, but if you have a digital footprint that goes back in time, that says a lot. Okay, and so it's important that we get our students building those types of things now, because if I have a job interview tomorrow, I can't go online and write 5 blog posts that I did over the past 5 years. I can't have a YouTube video that I posted 3 years ago with maybe only 1,000 views, but still it's 1,000. I can't build all that overnight. Okay, I can wreck it overnight, but I can't build the positive footprint that we want unless I'm doing it all the way along. Just like you said, a 12-year-old student could have been doing some really great things. However, if it was a 10-year-old who started the ALS bucket challenge, that guy's going to get a job, or that girl's going to get a job probably anywhere she goes, as long as they do the right things the rest of the way. So I think you wanted to point out.
We actually had this happen at the high school this year. We hired several new teachers. We felt really good about one of our teachers. After the interview, and then once they came in, they actually taught a lesson. We felt really good, so I did go on and did Google search, just because we like to know who our teachers are. We like to make sure that they're high quality, not only as what they can do instructionally, but as people. Sure enough, didn't I throw in this teacher's name and find out that she had won a Jefferson Award and all the things that she had done for it. Well, we had really good high hopes for her, and that just reaffirmed that what a great person, and how could we not have this person in our classroom working with our kids. So there's a perfect example of how digital presence, that she already had the job in our mind, but that just solidified. Well, that's somebody that we definitely have to go after and put in front of our kids. So that's a perfect, it was a nice example that we put together for that. What we really need to do is work in partnership. You as parents and we as the educators, we need to work collaboratively, and we need to do it under the guise of that. The simple fact is we need to think, and that's the paperwork that we need to do. So we want to show you this quick little video on thinking.
Just a quick question. Honeycutt, he says something about the Google alert. Is that what you actually type in, or
Yeah,
how do you do that?
If you do a Google search for Google Alerts, it'll give you the instructions. It's like one page. You basically set up Google account, and you can set up multiple alerts. And Google will actually every day scan the web for anything new that has your name, or like you said, your screen name, or particular organizations that you're looking for. So it's really it was really designed originally for research, so you could target certain things, but he has a great idea. You can set up an alert, and you'll get an email if your name is mentioned on anywhere on the web that's searchable. But it's a good question.
Good tool for parents.
Where your child's name?
Where your child's name in.
You said.
right, so we came in and we handed you this little sheet of paper. Before you put something on Facebook, text, tweet, blog, think. And this is something that we're going to be putting some of these posters around the district and talking with students, at all levels about the same kind of thing. Before you do something online, think about it. Is it, true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? A big one for me, even personally, is it necessary? And how many times I'm watching a football game or something, I feel like I can be the first one to tweet about something. Meanwhile, I'm missing the next play that's going on. We're not talking to my kids about things that's happening. So one thing I think about, is some of the things that I post necessary. It isn't kind, but these are real simple things that we're hoping that we can start working with kids at a very young age as we introduce them to new tools and really helping them think through these 5 simple things that if you follow those 5 things, you don't really have to worry about the negative footprint. And then you can focus on the positives.
If you think about it, it's no different than when we were growing up as kids. Our parents always told us, think before you speak. Well, now it's not so much even think before you speak, but there's an additional think before you type.
Think before you click.
Yeah.
So, all right, so where's that, they take us from here, and we're like running way behind schedule. But, so we just have 3 questions that are on the bottom of this sheet. And so, like Kevin said earlier, we can't sit here and talk about every single social platform, every single device that's out there, every single new piece of technology, because there's just way too many. So what we need to do is start developing, group thinking. And so that's kind of what we want to do here. So, one question to ask yourselves is, do you know enough about current technologies that are available and that your kids are using? And that can be things like content filters. Do you know how content filters work? Do you have a content filter at home? Do you have younger kids? Should you have a content filter? And even if you have one, do your kids know how to get past that? And you can have a filter on your home internet, but if your student your child has a cell phone, they can go off that and they can join the cellular network, or they can get the neighbor's Wi-Fi if it's unprotected. So, just thinking about those things. Location services is another thing. You know how that works. So most phones, smartphones or camera phones have GPS technologies built into those. So if that's turned on and I take a picture, it marks exactly where the picture was taken. So, a child can innocently take a picture, something in their home, they could post that somewhere online, and anybody that sees that picture could look up and see exactly where that child lives just because the photo is tagged with that location. The location services can be turned on and off. Or do you want your 14-year-old checking in on Facebook and telling everybody else out there, here's where I am tonight? You have to decide those things for yourself and for your children and have those conversations with them. Just the devices that your children have. Did you buy your child a tablet or an iPad or a phone and give it to them last year at Christmas and just say, hey, go do what you want? Have you looked at it? Do you know what it can do? There's all kinds of settings and things that can be applied on these devices. So it's important that you just know what the devices can do and get some help on how we can set those up.
Second question, what's the age appropriateness? And this is you as a parent. You need to be comfortable with this. We as a district, or at least at the secondary and high school level, we've opened up Twitter because we're now modeling what it is to be positive individuals in the Twitter sphere. But it's up to you. Is it okay? Depending on the age of your child, do you want them on Facebook? Do you want them on Snapchat? Do you want them on Twitter? Do you want them blogging or having a wiki? Those things that they're doing here, when they do it, they're within the content filters. If you're at home, it's up to you to kind of monitor, so you have to watch it. Even with the online gaming, do you even know who they're talking to in online gaming, even if it's an age-appropriate game? Do you know, is there a 35-year-old person out there playing the game or not? You need to at least have those conversations with your children and say, do you know who you're talking to? If it's just your friend down the street, that's great. But if it's somebody across the nation, do you know who they are and what they're doing?
And then the other thing is think out what are your next steps. Obviously we all need to be making informed decisions and have a certain level of knowledge. And there's a couple ways to do that. I work in the technology department, but there's times where I have to answer the help desk, which basically means anybody who works in the district can call and ask questions about things. And people will call and ask me a question about something, and they think that I know the answers to everything. And that's because I know how to go to Google and type in the question. So use Google. You can Google, how do I enable parental controls on an iPad? How do I enable parental controls on Nintendo Wii or on a video game? So you can Google things. Google should be your friend. The other thing you do is you can call cell phone providers and say, hey, what can I do to, lock down this phone? You can go into the Apple Store and say, hey, make an appointment, and they go in there and they'll show you how you can enable things and how you can set up a secure browser that's safe for children of certain ages. So, the next steps are get in the pool and start swimming instead of watching from the sideline. And when you don't know, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask. Do your research and get the answers that you need. Call a friend. If you have younger children, talk to your older children about, hey, what do you think we need to do? You were 8 years old once. What do you think are some things that we need to do to make sure that your younger brother or sister is going to be safe in using these devices and using these platforms?
Thank you. We went a little bit long. We apologize for that, but hopefully you're leaving with some thoughts and some ideas and some conversations